Blog Talk Radio.
Hi. And Don, today we have some very special guests, and they're the founders of PB Loco, Ken Hall, Keri, Barney, and Jodene Jensen. Ken, Keri, and Jodene, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Marty.
How you guys doing today?
Great.
Good.
Really well.
That's fantastic. I think, Ken, Keri, and Jodene, the three of you coming together is such a great story of entrepreneurship and the importance of finding a niche in the market. Can you tell our listening audience how the three of you came together? I think it's a fascinating story to form PB Loco.
Sure. We, the three of us were all practicing law and kind of had this bug that we wanted to do something a little bit differently. And we were friends, and one night it just came up that all three of us wanted to start a business.
Right.
Of course, the biggest challenge is always, well, what are we going to do?
Exactly.
And so we kind of decided first that we would do a business, and then we just started brainstorming on some different concepts, and we would sit around literally for hours, write down ideas, and we had a rule that, of course, no idea was bad. And when we hit on peanut butter, it really appealed to us initially because it's something that's, been around for over 100 years, and no one's really done too much to it in the last 100 years. And we thought it's such a great niche, it's such a staple food. And once we started playing around with flavored peanut butters, we just really felt like we had hit on something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think you mentioned one time I spoke with you, Ken, that, peanut butter is something that's really not new to people, and I think that was the fascinating thing about coming up with a niche in that market,
Right. It, like I said, it's been around for 100 years, and it's not something that's going to be a fad. It's peanut butter is it's a proven concept. It's a proven food, and with more and more research coming out about the health benefits of peanuts and peanut butter, and the 0 grams of trans fat that's found in peanut butter, it's really great time for it to kind of come of age.
Absolutely. I find that people are very fascinated with the PB Loco concept. I don't think I told you this story, Don, but last week I was doing some press releases with several newspapers regarding our new partnership with World Talk Radio and some of the exciting shows that we have scheduled. And one of the reporters kept asking me about PB Loco. She kept going back to your concept, and she was so fascinated with your franchise. I said, wait a minute. I said, this press release is supposed to be about me, your franchise interviews. How would you describe the PB Loco concept, Ken, Keri, or Jodene? Because you guys can do it a little better than I could.
Well, mostly, Marty, it's we like to tell people it's an all peanut butter all the time cafe, using our 11 flavored peanut butters to create unique and wonderful either sandwich combinations, smoothies, or snack fare. So we are a cafe, but we also have a retail side where we sell the jars of peanut butter, and we sell everything peanut butter, like peanut butter cookbooks, peanut butter diet books, peanut butter spreaders, peanut butter lip balm. All sorts of things. It's a great place to pick up a gift, a unique gift for a loved one, especially during the holiday season. We find that a lot. And it's great for snacks. Right now a lot of us are located we're located at the Mall of America, our corporate-owned store. And, we get people in all day. We get people in for breakfast. Peanut butter is a natural breakfast food.
Absolutely.
We get, of course, people in for lunch. And then in the afternoons and the early evenings, outside of the lunch and the dinner and the breakfast time, we get people who come in for snacks because they're tired. They're tired of shopping. They're ready to drop, and they need something to pick them up, and they need some food that'll stick to their ribs and be healthy for them. So
absolutely,
I think we provide a healthy alternative, and in the process, try to bring smiles to people's faces. People love their peanut butter. People are passionate about it, and we love to provide them, our unique flavored peanut butters.
Absolutely. I think I remember reading in an interview with you, too. I think it was Keri, that's almost like a cult following for peanut butter sometimes,
Yeah, we do have somewhat of a cult following. There are, as I said, people are passionate about peanut butter. The stories we get are just terrific. It's fun to listen to.
Hi, Ken, Keri, and Jodene. This is Don Johnson. I'm not too far from your Woodbridge Mall location. I'm just a few minutes from there. The holiday season's around the corner. My family usually always goes up there. I haven't been there yet, but I'll certainly be looking at it. I'm only about 10, 15 minutes away. How's that location been going so far?
Great. It's we'd love it if you'd stop there. Yeah, it's going well. We've got 2 locations open right now, one in Scottsdale, Arizona, and one in the Woodbridge, and then we sold a total of 10, and we have 3 opening in the next 3 weeks.
That's fantastic. So you guys have been pretty busy.
Yeah.
I think it's such a great idea. It seems so simple, but flavoring peanut butter and franchising the concept. Imagine there's going to be a lot of interest. You guys are going to be busy, and that's kind of my next question. How have your lives changed since starting PB Loco? Maybe you can talk about that a little bit.
That's a great question. For me, this is Jodene. For me, one of the things about starting PB Loco was I think people assume a lot of times that we did not like practicing law, and that actually wasn't the case at all.
Right.
I was very happy in my career as a lawyer. It was just that I always had this itch to do something new and something different and create something from scratch. And I think, like a lot of people, I had this fantasy about what it would be like to be my own boss.
Right.
And I have to say, it's as good as I had hoped it would be.
That's
it's really, all the things that I had hoped would be true about being my own boss are actually the case. And we've been doing this long enough now that I have accepted that. But in the beginning, I was always kind of like looking over my shoulder, like, what? Am I really my own boss now?
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, when we were practicing law, we were in very structured environments. We had a lot of support staff. We all went into fairly large existing law firms, and there's all this structure set up for you. And when we started PB Loco, we had nothing. We had the idea, but we didn't have a location. We didn't have the peanut butter. We didn't have a name. We didn't have anything. So we had to create our own structure and come up with our own. We had to basically invent all of that stuff.
Right.
And so one way that my life has changed is that it's. I found practicing law to be very rewarding, but I find this to be more rewarding because we have created this ourselves, with nothing. And if we succeed and meet all of the goals that we hope to meet, it's completely because of what we've done. Conversely, if we don't, we have no one to look at except for ourselves. But we are, to a degree we were not in the past. We're much more in control of our destinies now, and it's really just a wonderful feeling.
Well, good. I'm glad, Jodene, you cleared up that with that you weren't happy being an attorney. I have 2 attorneys in my family, and
that's right.
They're not always happy all the time. I always hear them complaining anyway. But when they hear this interview, they're going to kick themselves. So why didn't I think of that idea?
Well, we might have a franchise opportunity for them.
I'm sorry?
We might have a franchise opportunity for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, we'll talk about on the next show. So, you talked about starting a business. I mean, is this something you always dreamed about, being an entrepreneur, having your own business? Is this something you thought about well before being an attorney, or has this just come over like the last, few years?
I think for me, it has been simmering for a long time. My parents reminded me recently that when I was in grade school, I started a school newspaper and sold it for 10 cents.
That's a great story.
Yeah, and then I was kind of when I was working at the law firms, I was kind of a closet reader of Entrepreneur magazine. I'd have it in my law books. And one day, Jodene and I worked at the same firm, and she came in, and she's like, "Is that the November issue of Entrepreneur? I just got it too." And so I kind of knew that maybe we were kindred spirits, and that's actually kind of how it all began. That we started talking about, branching out and doing something more entrepreneurial.
Right.
Are they a show sponsor of the show, Marty, Entrepreneur?
Not yet. So I guess we'll have to get them next week. Okay.
Got to get them on there.
Absolutely. I have another question for you guys. What in your lives, Ken, Keri, and Jodene, prepared you to get to this point? I mean, was it your education? Was it your experience in the legal field? Did that help? Or, was it your entrepreneurial spirit? Was it a combination of all of those different things?
I think it was a combination. Mm-hmm. It seems like the 2 big things that we keep, like if we broke things down into kind of 2 different areas of what we've needed to, I don't want to say to master because I don't want to imply that we've mastered it, but the 2 different areas that we've needed to really make sure we had covered are, one of them is as I mentioned, when we started, we didn't have a location, for example. So we had to do a lot of cold calling, calling places, trying to sell people on the idea to convince them to give us a space. And we had to go out and talk to people who were food scientists about how we would develop the peanut butter. And so there's this whole big area that I'll just generally group as like people skills. All three of us are very outgoing. None of us are shy. We don't have any problem, calling somebody and who's never heard of us and just saying, hey, can we pick your brain? And there's just so much of that that we had to do, especially in the beginning. So I would say just the fact that all three of us, we've all throughout our lives done a lot of ball juggling, if you will. We've done several things at once. We'd be in school and we'd have a job and we'd have sports. And when we were practicing law, we'd do some volunteer work and do some other things. And so just that being able to do multiple things at once and kind of to reach out to the community has been very helpful. And then the other kind of big category is just having I don't know what you would call it, the business sense maybe, but being able to do the books and being able to just keep the business going. I think our backgrounds in the legal field and working with clients and having those analytical skills that we got through practicing law or that we developed through practicing law, I think that's very helpful for that part of it.
Absolutely. So you guys are wearing a lot of hats now too.
That's right, exactly. We don't have that structure that we had before, although we're growing it. We have much more structure now, than we did 3 years ago, but we have to wear a lot more hats than we did in the past, which I think is really fun because I like a lot of I don't want to say change, but a lot of I like a lot of infusion of new.
Absolutely. What would have been some of the greatest moments? I mean, if you could narrow it down to like one of the greatest moments since starting PB Loco, what would it have been, Keri and Jodene? What would you say?
I think for me it was probably that first day that we opened and seeing the response of the public. Before we opened, it was all just a concept, and we thought it would work. Of course, I mean we took a risk and we put what we had into it, but that didn't mean that it actually was going to work. Of course. And so for that first day when we had people come in, we had so many, even within the first half an hour, people, it was the day after Thanksgiving, so it was a crazy day trying to open a new concept cafe the day after Thanksgiving in the Mall of America. It was a little bit nutty to say the least, no pun intended. But we'd get people in and they'd be like, where are you guys out of? Are you out of the East Coast or are you out of California? And we'd be like, no, we're out of right here. And then they'd say,
interesting.
This is so great. We want to open one in our city. We must have had franchise requests from 50 people that first day. They're like, we want one of these. So seeing that was terrific. And it was just, it really gave us a lot of, renewed energy to keep on the path that we were going. And we thought, okay, this is going to go.
Right, absolutely.
Just reinforced the fact that you were onto something good and all that hard work was paying off a little bit. It must have been a good feeling having all that interest. And maybe the first day, but there must have been something funny that maybe happened to you since starting the concept. You can think of maybe something like maybe one or two of the funniest things that have happened since you've all started PB Loco?
Yeah, I guess there's been a few different things. The one overriding thing that keeps happening is when you make a change kind of as dramatic as we made in our careers, and there's some days when I wake up and it doesn't really seem possible that I have this company that's a peanut butter company. It's not anything I would have dreamed in my wildest dreams probably even 5 years ago. And so we kind of have to remind ourselves as we're doing various things that, this is really, your reality can change very quickly. And our philosophy has always been that whenever we undertake something new, the three of us do it ourselves so we understand it inside and out. So when we opened our cafe at Mall of America 3 years ago, we were actually out at the cafe all day long, making the sandwiches, interacting with the customers, getting the feedback, and then a few months later, we actually started producing the peanut butter ourselves. So
that's amazing.
set up the equipment, and yeah, there were a few moments when we were, during in our production line when we had, I like to call them our I Love Lucy moments, because the conveyor belt keeps moving and the jars keep coming in.
Were you pouring a lot of peanut butter into your mouth during that?
Yeah, that's funny. Don, I think we're going to take a quick break, and Keri and Jodene are going to stick around for our next segment. So why don't we do